Greetings, it's Charles McCall again, Mentoring Growing Leaders and Leadership 101. Today we're looking at lesson number 5, which is part 1 of vision. How to receive vision, how to share vision, and how to implement vision. I just want to say to you that these 2 lessons on vision, as I talk to leaders all over the world, this is a critical component that is lacking. So many people do not have a clear vision. And as a result of that, they just kind of go here and there. And so it's a very good lesson. I believe it's going to be helpful to you. And so we're going to dive right into it with part 1 of vision. First of all, receiving vision. Vision is what we see for the future. And so you have to be able to look into the future. And what you believe is what God is calling you to do, or what you see is the right thing to do from others that are speaking into your life. But vision is associated with what you see for your future. What do you see for your future in the next 10 years? In the next 20 years? In the next 30 years? What do you see for your family? What do you see for your finances? What do you see for your business or your ministry? What do you see for your health? For the next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? This is going to be a question for you at the end of this lesson, and we're going to have you write a few things down. Because what you see will determine your future. If you don't see anything, that's a problem. What do you see? Let's go back and let's say we're talking about a business, or we're talking about a school, or we're talking about a church, we're talking about an organization. And so we have the organizational vision, or the school vision, or the business vision. And so that's one aspect of what we're talking about. What's the vision for the entire entity for the next 10 years, 20 years, or 30 years, if we can think that far? But then every organization, whether it's church or business or school, is broken down into components, into various, you can call them departments. Departments or ministries. And so each one must have their own vision. What's your vision for service? The quality of service. What's your vision for the quality of education, the kind of students, how many students you're going to reach? What's your vision for the administration department? If you're in a church, what's your vision for the children's ministry, the youth ministry, the pastoral care ministry? And so every department of your church, your organization, or your business has to have a very clear vision. This is critical, and I'll be honest with you, this takes a lot of time. It takes time for you to get alone. It takes time for you to study. It takes time for you to meet with others. What's the vision for the worship team and the worship department for the next 10 years? What's the vision for your business, and what's the vision for training new employees and recruiting new employees, the recruitment, the human resources side of it? And so we have to think through this, and it involves time. It involves you, as I do, taking time away. It's been a practice of mine for many years, and more so in these more recent years, of finding a time away. In fact, I've tried to organize my schedule on a daily basis. I'm at the place in my age and in my work now that I can organize. I have some control over my schedule, not like I used to, so you might be in a different situation. But I've always got up early. I get up early in the morning, usually 5 o'clock or 5:30, I'm sleeping in. And I get up early in the morning, and these last few years, I've tried not to have any appointments, if at all possible, before 9 o'clock. And so I take time to get up and to wake up. I take time to exercise. I take time to read. And I take time to think through my day, think through my week, think through my month. Now, as you know, I'm a Christian. I've been a pastor. I've been the leader of a Christian organization. And so we have a Bible. We call it the Bible, the Holy Bible. And so the Holy Bible is the Word of God. That is my number one Bible. But my number 2 Bible is my calendar. Now, I have a hard calendar, I have a calendar in my computer, and I have a calendar in my phone. And so these are 2 tools that guide my life, that I use to direct my future, that I use to help prepare my vision. Another thing that I do is I take time away. I have regular prayer retreats. In fact, I'm just looking forward to an upcoming prayer retreat where I get away sometimes for a half a day or a full day or a couple days. I think a lot. Over these many, many years that I've been a leader, I've always taken time to taking time to plan and think through what does the future look like. I've been very strategic in what I've done. And I've been very strategic because I've had a vision. Everything starts with vision. If your vision for the entire entity is not clear, it's going to be difficult to go forward. If your vision for the various components of your entity are not clear, it's going to be very difficult to go forward. And so I really encourage you, you're going to have to take some time alone or take some time with your team away and think about the vision. What do you see for this part of your entity? What do you see for this part of your industry long term and then also short term? What you do today and this week and this month and this year, that affects your future. We have another lesson that we're going to be doing on time, the value of taking control of our time. Because if we don't use our time wisely, believe me, it flies by. And so what you do today, what you do this week, what you do this month, it will determine your future. And if you have a vision, I'm telling you this, if you have a vision, well then you will guard your time and you will organize your time to move toward fulfilling that vision. Who you spend time with and what you read and what you join, the activities that you participate in, all of this affects your future. And all of this is determined by your vision. And if your vision is not clear, well then it's whatever happens. And 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you're going to be right where you're at now. So I want to encourage you, consider vision is what you see for the future. Your life, your family, and your entity, whether it's a business, your school, or your work, or whatever you're working at, and then the various components of that. You know, many years ago, I took a time management course by Charles Hobbs because I was starting to get more and more responsibilities in my work, and I need to get a hold on things. And so I bought cassette tapes and a little booklet that came with it, and I'm expecting to get some keys on how to manage my time. Amazingly enough, Charles Hobbs did not start off with 5 keys to how to manage your day or using a day timer or a planner. He started off with the question that I'm asking you. What do you see at the end of your life? I thought, what is this? This is a time management course. But he went on to explain what you see at the end of your life will affect what you do every day. It will affect how you use your time. It will affect who you hang out with, what you read, and how you spend your money. It will affect everything about your life. Major changing point. This is many, many years ago, but it was a major changing point in my life. What do I want my life to look like in the end? And he went through your family, he went through your work, he went through your health, and then he eventually, it was several hours. It may have been 40 hours worth of training, but he eventually got down to the practical things of how to use your time wisely on a daily basis and time management principles and things like that. But the point is, you start with the end in mind. You always start. Every endeavor, you start with the end in mind. What's it going to look like in the end? And so you've got a project, you have an event that you're planning, that you want to happen, or you have a project, something new that you want to create. The question that you must always ask, what does it look like in the end? And also you need to ask questions once you clarify what your life vision is and what your work vision is and what your departmental vision is, then you need to ask yourself, is what I'm doing right now contribute to the fulfillment of that vision? Or does it actually take me away from the fulfillment of that vision? Now, if you're an employee, you don't have the luxury necessarily to create your own vision. Your boss's vision, your company's vision, your church's, your organization's vision is your vision for this season in your life. Now, you can still create personal visions, you can still create your health visions, but as far as your work is concerned, if you're an employee, then your vision comes from your company, comes from your organization, it comes from the leaders over you. They create the vision for you. And so, Proverbs 28, verse 19 in the Bible, it says, if you have no vision, you will live carelessly. If you have no vision, you will live carelessly. You will not live by priorities. You will not live by knowing what to do and what not to do. And so if you don't have a vision, you're going to live your life carelessly. You know, I want to say to you also, from my own personal testimony, many, many years ago, when I was a new Christian, I heard a sermon on the faithful servant, where Jesus told the story about a master gave a certain amount of resources to 3 different employees according to their abilities. He said, I want you to multiply it. I want you to do something with it. And 2 of them multiplied it according to their abilities. Some multiplied it a lot, some multiplied it a little, and some didn't. One did not multiply it at all. But the ones that multiplied it, Jesus spoke these words, well done, my good and faithful servant. Enter into the joy of your Lord. And he gave greater. He raised them up to a new level of responsibility. But the one that didn't multiply, well, he was rebuked, and wasn't a happy ending for him. And so it's important for us to have a vision, because as we look at the end and what the end is going to be like, it helps us to make decisions for every day. Another truth about vision is vision drives you. Vision is something that will give you strength. Vision is something that will help you to overcome obstacles, overcome depression, overcome frustrations, because you have a vision that is burning in you. And again, from my own personal testimony of being a missionary, a pastor, an apostolic minister in Cambodia for many years, is that I've always had a vision, that God gave me a clear vision before I came to Cambodia of what I felt like that He wanted to do, and that has driven me. That has caused me to get up early in the morning. That's caused me to make times of prayer, to make times of fasting. That has caused me to study things, to do things that was not comfortable for me to do things outside of my comfort zone, outside of my box, because I've had a vision. There's been times when I've been discouraged. There's been times when we've lacked finances. There's been times when we've lacked human resources. There's been times when I've been tired. But because I've had a vision, I've picked up, I've carried on, and I've pursued. And that vision, I've now turned it over to others. And it's probably the most successful thing going on in Cambodia at the time that I'm making this presentation. About your vision will help you to sacrifice, to do things that you don't want to do, to pay out when it hurts you, but you do it because you have a vision. Your vision will also help you to say yes and to help you say no. And this is very critical as well. That if you have a clear vision for your entity or for your department, or for the children's ministry, or for the administration department, or for the human resources department, or whatever area you happen to be working on, if you have a clear vision, it will help you to say yes to some things and no to other things. Because we can't do everything. We have to make decisions. We have to say, yes, this is good. In fact, a little saying that I have is that you have to say, sometimes you have to say no to what is good to choose what is better. And so, if we have a clear vision, that will help us to be able to say yes to some things and no when we say no to other things. Our vision must come from God's vision. Now, if you're a church, if you're a business, if you're a Christian, if you're not a Christian, this is the truth, is that our vision must align at least with God's general vision for mankind. In Genesis 1:26 through 28, God reveals His fourfold purpose for mankind, and that is to know Him and have a relationship with Him, to represent Him in everything we say, do, and to rule and reign in life, and to reproduce others. That's in a nutshell, that's God's fourfold purpose for mankind that He reveals in the very first word spoken in the first book, in the first chapter of the Holy Bible. And so our vision must align with God's vision. So if your vision is going to lead you into lying, cheating, stealing, corruption, or something that does not help people, or something that is hurting people, your vision does not align with God's vision. And in the end, we will pay for it. And so it's very important for us to evaluate, to make sure if you're a business and how you run your business and how you relate to your employees and how you relate to your customers, if it's an organization, if it's a church, or if it's a school, how we run what we run and how we behave and how we treat the people around us, if there's any shadow in it, then it's probably not according to God's vision, and it won't receive God's blessing, and it won't receive the full success that God wants us to have. And so our vision must align at least with God's general vision for mankind. It's important for you, as you're considering the vision for your life, your family, for your health, for your work, organization, etc., to discover your strengths and your passions. It's important for you to discover your strengths and your passion, because you're a unique person. You're uniquely shaped to do what God wants you to do. And so it's important for you to get the right people. If you're a director, it's important for you to get the right people in the right place. And if you're a worker, it's important for you to be in the right place according to your strengths and according to your passion. Now, when I first came to Cambodia as a missionary, I'd never lived overseas before, and I worked with a veteran missionary for about 2 years. And he had a lot of experience, and so he was my mentor, and I just watched him, observed him, asked him questions. And then when he left, after a couple years, he turned it over to me. At that time, he was doing a medical mission. He was studying to be a doctor, and he gave up his studies to be a doctor to become a missionary. But that was his mindset, that his world was the medical field. And so when he came to Cambodia, he recruited some Filipino nurses and a Filipino doctor, and they started a medical ministry and assisting with the government medical facilities here in Cambodia. But when he left, I know nothing about medicine. I know nothing about that sphere. And so it was like David trying to wear Saul's armor. It didn't fit me. It wasn't what worked for me. And so I had to ask myself, what do I have to offer to this nation? What can I do to help develop this nation? And so what I felt like that I could offer was English classes, computer classes, and office skills classes, the education side of it. And so I began to develop curriculum. I began to recruit staff. I began to train Cambodians how to do all of this. And we have a very successful nationwide, nation-influencing educational system on very, very different levels. Now that came out of me understanding what my strengths are and what my passions are. And so you have to do the same thing. When it comes to your vision, you have for your life or for your ministry, you really do. Even if you're assigned, I'll say this, even if you're assigned by your leader to do a job, and it has to be done. It has to be done. But you do need to consider, so what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses, and what is your passion? What has God created in you to move you to do what He's made you to do? The other thing it's important for us to understand is not to limit our vision. You know, I had a young girl come to me about a year ago, and she was studying with me in my night Bible school, and she said, Pastor, can I talk with you for a little bit? I'm going to share with you my vision. And I'm teaching these kind of things to the class, and so she's getting stirred up. And she came to me with what I perceived for her, a huge vision. And I thought, I don't know how this is going to be. I didn't say it to her, but I thought, I don't know how this is ever going to be done. Is that I know what her English level is not that great, her skill level is not that great. But you know what? I am not going to be the one that limits her vision, because nothing is impossible with God. And so through this time, I've been fanning the flames, really not really fanning the flames, but she'll come to me often and ask me questions. She just came to me last night in my night Bible school and asked me to help translate something from English into the Cambodian language. She wasn't sure how it was supposed to work. And she's got a huge vision. And I'm not going to be the one that puts the water on the fire of that vision, because who knows? She has potential. She was created to lead at least at one level, and I believe that God can work in through. God can do miracles. God can develop her capacity. And so don't limit your vision. Don't limit your vision because of your family background. Don't limit your vision because of your education. And I will just tell you honestly, is that I don't have a high degree. If you want to search my credentials, you're not going to find much. Now, I've gone through some Bible schools. I've gone through a lot of training, a lot of seminars. I've had some excellent mentors, but I don't have high degrees. My father died when I was 10 years old, and I didn't have anybody to guide me through my formative years, and just from a small community in Oregon. And so I'm amazed at what God has done through me. And so I encourage you, I tell people, if God can do it through me, I guarantee you He can do it through you. I believe in you. And I believe that your leader believes in you. Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching these videos and going through this training. And so don't limit your vision because of your culture, because of your education, because of your family background. Don't limit God, whatever you do. Remember the lesson number 2 on don't make excuses as to why you can't do it. God is bigger than you. And here's the other thing, by the way, your vision will always be bigger than you. And so that's why this young girl, I didn't try to discourage her. She had a big vision. Her vision was bigger than her. But that's how God works. God's vision is always bigger than us, so we can't do it by ourselves. We need Him and we need others. But it is important for us to develop our capacity, develop our skills, and to develop our character so that we will be able to rise to that level and rise to that occasion. As the other important thing is your vision is bigger than you. You must develop yourself, and vision will attract people. Vision will attract people, and vision will attract finances. Now, we live in a developing country. At this point where I'm sharing this video, I'm part of a group of churches, and I was the director of it, and now I'm more in an apostolic role in that group of churches. And we have, at this point, we have 250 congregations in many of the different provinces in Cambodia. We have schools, we have a lot of different things going on. But God has done amazing things through people that were not perfect people. People that had lacks, people that were not altogether there. And so your vision will be bigger, and your vision will attract the finances, and your vision will attract the people that you need. And so I tell our pastors and I tell our leaders, don't ask people for money. So when a foreigner comes to your village or a foreigner comes to your church to visit you, don't ask for money. You just show them the fruit. And if it's God's will, they will ask you. They will see the fruit that you're producing, and they will say, how can I partner with you in this endeavor? And then you can share with them what your needs are and all of that. But vision attracts. Again, just for our ministry here in Cambodia, we have done very little over the years. When I was the senior leader, we have done very little. I did very little, almost no fundraising. I trusted God, but the process is just as I described it to you. I talked to God about what our needs was, and God would just bring people to us, people from all over the world. It is incredible. It's amazing, the relationships that we have. We didn't go seek them out. God just put it together. And so your vision will be bigger than you, and your vision will attract the people that you need, and your vision will attract the finances that you need. I have a slide here about Abraham Lincoln. He's a great testimony. He's the 16th president of the United States, and I'm just going to read through a little bit of his failures. I'm saying this again to go with the thought that your vision will always be bigger than you, and don't put limitations on your vision. In 1831, he lost his job. In 1832, he was defeated in his run for the Illinois state legislature. In 1833, he failed in business. In 1834, he was elected to the Illinois state legislature. That's a success, his first success in 4 years. 1835, his sweetheart died. In 1836, he had a nervous breakdown. In 1838, he was defeated in his run for the Illinois House Speaker. In 1843, he was defeated in his run for the nomination for U.S. Congress. In 1846, he was elected to Congress. So in about 10 years or more, he had tons of defeats and he had 2 successes. In 1848, he lost his renomination. In 1849, he was rejected for the land officer position. In 1854, he was defeated again in his run for the U.S. Senate. In 1856, he was defeated in his run for nomination for vice president. In 1858, he again ran for U.S. Senate and was defeated again. And finally, in 1860, he was elected president of the United States. The point, you and I are going to meet with failures. We're going to meet with difficulties. We're going to meet with lack. We're going to meet with things that we need to see what we feel like that God is moving us to do. Don't let that discourage you. Don't let that discourage you at all. I'm going to switch over to the next slide here, excuse me. Don't let that discourage you at all. because God is with you. So whether it's a small part of an organization, school or business or church, or whether it's the entire entity that you're thinking through, don't be discouraged. Think big and allow God to increase it. The final slide here is 3 questions I have for you. And again, if you're sitting by yourself and watching this by yourself, pause the video and write these down. It's important for you guys, it's men and women, guys and gals, it's important for you not just to listen and to do nothing. It's important for you to listen, to ask these questions, and to write them down. There's something about writing that solidifies it in our mind and solidifies it in our heart. And so if you haven't been doing this all along, I want you to take a pad and a pencil, a pen, or use your phone or use your computer. Writing is actually better than typing, psychologists say. And so I want you to ask, I want you to break into your groups or think by yourself, what kind of work do you want to be doing 10 years from now? Take a moment, you can pause this video and discuss it in your groups of 3, or sit there and think about it by yourself. Write it down. What kind of work do you want to be doing 10 years from now? Secondly, what limits you from doing that work that you want to be doing 10 years from now? What limits you? Is it finances? Is it education? Is it experience? Is it opportunities? And the third question, what can you do in the next 6 months to move forward toward that vision that you have for yourself in the next 10 years? Thank you for listening in, and take time to discuss these questions, and we will see you next time that we meet together for the next lesson.